So last time around we had our first run-in with Doctor Hauzer, and it didn't really go as expected. In fact, it kind of left us with more questions than answers, namely, outside of that ghostly apparition, has there been anything truly supernatural that's gone on in the game so far? I mean, there's been plenty of preposterous things. There's been the death traps, the boulder, the bottomless pits, but really that ghost has been the first truly otherworldly thing that we've been shown so far. And considering some of the rantings and ravings we've read from Doctor Hauzer, it could very well be that the ghost has a scientific explanation. It's just Doctor Hauzer trying to scare us away from his house or scare us to death. I mean, really, has there been anything else inexplicable that's gone on in the game so far? Alright, I'll give that to you. There's not really a scientific basis for how we still managed to see the exact same thing out of every window in the house, but at least the second floor does have a slightly different sound effect. Still, there is one other point of interest in the room here, and that's this painting of the mansion, because it appears that there is something behind the painting. And to get to that, we are going to use that dull knife that we found back on the first floor kitchen. And for defacing this lovely work of art here, we are rewarded with a map of the second floor, which might actually prove to be useful considering we've only managed to explore 2 out of the many rooms on the second floor so far. Yeah, we've looked in the stock room and the historical room, and we could probably go into the gallery. Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit to explore. In fact, there seems to be some rooms that just aren't marked at all. For now, though, I think we might as well pop over to the gallery real quick and see what's going on in there. Though there is a little bit of a dick move once you leave the historical room, because the door manages to lock behind us. And technically you could go through the stock room and back up through the study, but there is a slightly easier path to take. Which, as you can imagine, is in the gallery. It appears that Dr. Hauzer had something of an eye fetish, as we already saw one of these paintings down on the first floor. And I guess it only just strikes Adam now because most of the paintings that he will look at in this room will strike him as being a bit weird. But I say most of them because there is one painting in particular that, well, doesn't really match the other paintings. This one appears to be looking left, and if we follow this painting's gaze to the left-hand side here, we'll now notice that the painting next to it is looking forward. And you can probably start to figure out what the puzzle here is. We just have to follow the gaze of the paintings as it circles around the room. And inevitably, we are going to want to end up at that green-eyed painting that we first looked at. And while it's probably not the most difficult puzzle, I will at least applaud the fact that it is a puzzle at all. It seems like we haven't had a puzzle in quite a bit. And for our reward, we get a brand new key. Along with a death trap. Yeah, this can catch you fairly off guard, especially with the bad camera angle. The good thing is that it's not really terribly difficult to get around. If you manage to use one of the alternate views, it does help quite a bit. Though if you do want to stick to this view, probably my best advice is just to try to run way, way ahead of the wall, because that's probably going to cut off your camera. And for that slight detour, as you can probably guess, the key that we just got is going to unlock the historical room. And in all reality, if you've managed to collect everything that you've possibly been able to collect at this point, you probably don't ever actually need to go into the gallery at all. Purely optional room, though I think you would be losing out on a very fun puzzle. Still, back in the historical room, we noticed this planked over area of the wall, and the good news is that, well, we did manage to collect a crowbar from the nearby stock room. Which allows us into a passageway where no light can enter or escape, which is a great scientific phenomenon. The good news is that we did manage to capture a source of light that we can use back down in the dining room in the candlestick here. Though, as Adam notices, a candlestick without a flame is, well, just a set of wax. The good news is we also managed to get a lighter from the stockroom as well, so I'm going to go ahead and put that to good use. We've already managed to stumble into one of those unmarked areas of the map, and it may seem initially like it just ends up in a dead end. It's just the more eagle-eyed viewer might notice that the wall over here is a slightly different type of wood. Indeed, it does give us access to another one of those unmarked rooms on the map. And I can only assume that this is some man cave that Doctor Hauzer set up to maybe get away from his wife and do a little bit of light reading, or in this case, writing, as we find the third entry in his diary. And as we take a look in this diary entry, we can see even more his mental degradation as he goes full scale into religious nut. Yeah, it seems that one of the diggers managed to break a artifact of the cherub, and it just apparently he needed to atone for that sin to the gods, and what better way to do that than to be a sacrifice to the gods? Or God, I guess in this case, since I think they're wanting to be monotheistic. But either way, it seems that through this sacrifice and through a little bit more digging, the doctor has managed to find a way to get to the cherub's gate. It's just that the gate is still sealed, and he needs to get to that eternal life and tree of life, and yeah, it still sounds very preposterous at this point. Though I don't know, the house just makes me question reality all in all, especially as to why you would want just a door-shaped pane of glass here. I mean, it's not a door. It's just something that we need to break down. Now, we probably could have used the crowbar, but obviously we threw that away, and I mean, we have a number of books and a gun and a big stone tablet, but yeah, believe it or not, the solution here is obviously the shotgun. And I assume it's only because it's fucking rad. Yeah, all in all, I'm not really certain how to explain this room. I can only assume that he couldn't just mark it on the map as glass room, maybe? I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery, along with everything else going on so far, but the good news is, well, we can explore the rest of the second floor, and we found a corpse. A very mysteriously dried out corpse, along with a key. I guess maybe whatever the doctor was doing to the workers managed to just drain them dry of their life essence. Truly something within the realm of science, I'm sure. But yeah, at this point, for the most part, it's just going to become kind of a get a key, go to the next door, unlock it, solve a puzzle type of deal. But that's not to say that there isn't going to be some interest involving some of the puzzles and traps that we're going to have to deal with. I mean, the next room, I think, was called the Dance Hall. And it looks like maybe the doctor misunderstood what swing dancing was. Now we just have to be very, very careful around these very sharp pendulums here. Because otherwise it's pretty easy to lose your head over them. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But yeah, this room is not terribly difficult. It can be a little bit of a challenge with the default camera, though, as we've kind of seen from before, quite a few of these puzzles can just be completely trivialized by using the alternate camera views. Also, for our troubles, we do get a very inexplicable key. I don't really think a wooden key would be of much use, though. We are managing to make good headway on the second floor. We also found, if the stairs weren't rotted, a way to get back down to the first floor, but we can't use that. Instead, let's completely mangle that key and manage to reach, well, what's pretty much the last little bit of the second floor. Another inexplicably large pit lies in store for us. But we do have a few other doors to check before we hurtle our way into the depths. We can't get into that door just yet. Our other option here, though, is open to us. And it's a very calming bedroom with a very stern-looking portrait of Doctor Hauzer here, along with a very, very loud ticking clock. Though, considering the previous clock we found in the game, makes me assume that there might be something of interest for us inside the clock, so let's go check it out. Yeah, just another nefarious trap from Doctor Hauzer. The thing is, though, even though it does block our progression to the other side of the room, it will become a bit necessary to get over there, so, well, if we take a little look around the back of the clock, yeah, it looks like there is just barely enough space for us to fit through. It's just, well, taking a closer look, it definitely appears that we are not going to get through there. So we're going to have to figure out some way to get around that arrow. And, well, that just leaves us to figure out what to do with this very large gap in the floor. Maybe this nearby painting will be able to elucidate some answers. Yeah, it's a bit hard to tell, but from Adam reading, it seems that the primary source of interest in the painting is a piece of writing on it that says, "Walk calmly with courage." And though it doesn't seem like the best idea, let's give a little walk a try. Yeah, I guess it's just an illusion. Not really sure how to explain it. So I'm not really sure how to explain a locked door over a fake bottomless pit, but there you go. Still, we do have this last door to look into. And I think this was marked as a research room on the map. And as you might guess, there is plenty of research equipment in here, though not really anything that's going to help us on our journey. And on the table, amongst all the bottles and beakers, we find the last diary entry for Doctor Hauzer. And this one, believe it or not, really does shed some light on just, I guess, the layout of the house and, what we've been having to deal with. And that's namely the fact that Dr. Hauzer, outside of, the original murder he did against the worker that, destroyed a piece of the cherub's artifact, he decided that the best way to open the seal of the cherub is just to go full-scale murder and kill everybody that was involved with the dig. And, believe it or not, for some reason, the police started to look into the dead bodies, and they started to show up at the mansion and also other people from the college, and, well, this just kind of turned out to be a boon to Dr. Hauzer because he kept using the murders as, like, a possible way to reach the land of the gods. It's all a bit strange. But it does seem like he might have reached his goal. And yeah, that's pretty much why why the house is completely covered in death traps. It's not just because he hates people. It's because he is actually trying to fuel this mysterious ritual to reach the Tree of Life. The good thing is that we are still managing to be somewhat successful. We have scored yet another key. We have managed to stay alive all this time. We are very, very slowly but surely reaching the end of the game. With our newly found golden key, we can open up this previously locked door. Sadly, though, there isn't much to this room outside of a very similar, stern-looking painting of Dr. Hauzer. Plenty of armoires to look into, though nothing really of note, outside of this very final one. Because inside of it, well, there just happens to be a switch. A switch for what, you might be asking? Well, let's press it and find out. So it was a fail-safe mechanism to trigger that arrow trap in the other room. How crafty of you, Dr. Hauzer. Weird-looking demon of a man. Still, the curiosity is kind of getting the better of me here, and I'm very curious as to how this floor works. So... Alright, so it wasn't really an illusionary bottomless pit, it was just a very hard to tell pane of glass over a bottomless pit. I can't even begin to imagine how you tell that to an architect, but, there you go. But with that trap now deactivated, we can see what the rest of this room holds for us. Namely, nothing. Though on the far wall here, we do see what appears to be a very very odd lever. Seems like it might need something heavy to weigh it down, which hopefully you did make sure to pick up that axe from back down on the first floor. Because that is exactly how we weigh down this lever. And much like the flower room from the first floor, that very almost door-shaped painting is indeed a doorway to our final room on the second floor here. Which is another living room. A mostly carbon copy of the living room from the first floor, though we'll get to the fireplace in just a second. The real main interest here lies in the armoire. Because inside we find a photo of Mrs. Hauser, and believe it or not, this is a very, very, very important item for the ending of the game. And it's also important not to overlook this nearby room here, because it does hold another extremely important item that you can overlook. Yeah, in this strangely decorated little hovel that oddly has no music, we also find, a twin stick of dynamite. Apparently something left over from the professor's expedition. But yeah, there is a very good reason why you want to make sure and pick this up before you do anything else. And it's because, believe it or not, we are very, very, very extremely close to the end of the game. And to reach the end of the game, well, we want to take a quick look at this mysteriously clean fireplace. Because hiding behind the fireplace is a passageway to our destiny. But we'll see what holds in store for our poor Adam next time on the final update of Doctor Hauzer.